No, I haven't.
Yep.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. See you later. Welcome, everybody. It's been a while. Let's go ahead and get down to it. Trying to think of the date. Just look real quick here. Excuse me a minute. Well, a gentleman that was a resident of Brookfield by the name of Forrest Lund passed away, I believe, early last month, beginning of May. I don't know if anyone remembers the exact date. But again, from what I've heard from Jessica and some other folks, that is a very nice gentleman, resident of the town. So just wanted to say a moment of silence and wish his family the best. So, all right. Scheduled speaker. Do we have a scheduled speaker? Oh, you just have a scheduled speaker, like someone was scheduled. All right, let's take a look at one set of minutes that only Rick and I were here for. Rich was out.
Motion to accept as submitted.
All right, I'll second the motion. And no further discussion, we'll accept the minutes as drafted. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Abstain.
All right. Any public comments? Craig?
Yeah. On Moose Mountain Road, pretty much in front of my house, there's wetlands on both sides and there's a culvert. Cody knows where it is. There started out just a small piece of loss of the edge of the road.
Mm-hmm.
It's now 8 feet long. I just measured it, 8 feet long, and at some points 30 feet into the road. I think largely because of the truck traffic for the last several weeks. But I think it needs to get patched pretty quickly, particularly if they're done now, because it just keeps on growing and it's at least tripled since spring started.
Right, and then we second thunderstorms and stuff like that. It's gonna...
Yeah. And then the other thing was I wanted to, you folks might have already talked about it or thought about it, but I wanted to encourage the board to send a official thank you to our counselor, executive counselor, for his assistance in getting our roads done, because he really didn't seem to think it was going to happen, but it's happened quite nicely. And I think we should acknowledge him for his efforts.
Absolutely.
That's it. Thanks.
I will put together a letter. I'll get you a letter, Laurie. And, Eddie, road. I guess 2 questions. Since we could probably pinpoint that the road's falling apart due to the truck traffic, can we get some sort of restitution from them, or is that hard to do if we can't
It's pretty hard to do because it was already a small hole there that has been amplified or magnified or however you want to do it. I was up there today checking it out, and I can put some gravel in it. I will check with the logger to see when they're done, but I was hesitant to patch it until they're done with coal patch.
Right.
But I can at least put some dirt in it for now and stop the growth.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Touchy subject, but I just some of my neighbors wanted to know if we have any time frame as to when Bryce Drive is gonna be paved.
We need to talk
Or
about...
maybe that's gonna be talked about later.
Yeah, we need to talk about paving quotes and all that stuff. It's been a few weeks since we've all been together, but yeah, we need to talk about road projects. Also, any need for dust control? How's the dust been over there? You've been at it a few times.
Yeah.
It's bad, but it's bad everywhere.
Right,
Yeah,
and
so
I got one more tank left, and I'm saving it for Bryce Drive.
Okay.
And then I need, if you recall, I don't know, maybe you don't recall, Brian, but where we buy it from, we have to buy a whole tanker load, and we pretty much have to have those 2 tanks empty before, so I got, like I said, I got one more 500-gallon tank left, and then I'll be ordering and fill them back up, and
Okay.
we'll be good for another year and a half.
All right, you're gonna go hit it soon?
Yep.
This will be your out then. All right, we'll get back to you though. And yes, where Bryce is one of the several projects we've been talking about, aprons and all that good stuff, so. Any other public comments? Diane?
Two things. One, I communicated with the Board of Selectmen via email regarding the Transportation Alternatives Program funding opportunity, and did it as a CC to an inquiry to Wakefield. The Transportation Alternatives Program is a federally funded program that is available every 2 years. I don't know if that's mandated or if that's just the way New Hampshire cycles the funding, but there's 2 years worth of funding available. It's a combination of what used to be all different types of alternative transportation programs now in one pot, administered by the state of New Hampshire. The opportunity for it is for alternatives. That means it's not for road projects or directly related to roads. And as you may recall, I had looked into the possibility of getting some funding earlier in the spring for access to the Cotton Valley Rail Trail in Brookfield. And the problem with the state with that money, which was through the Bureau of Trails, not sure if I have the right terminology, is that it would not pay for the acquisition of land or easements. And that would be the most costly activity to expand access at Clark Road. This program, the Transportation Alternatives Program, would support that kind of activity. However, as I looked into it more, the minimum grant, minimum project value has to be $400,000. And I didn't think that our project was, and we have to have a 20% match, and I thought, no, that ain't gonna work. So I inquired with Wakefield, because the Cotton Valley Rail Trail section from Route 16 down to the Turntable Park has not been done yet. And I didn't know if perhaps Wakefield had intended to apply for those funds to do that. And I sent the email to Kelly Collins, and she responded back saying that she really didn't have the time to spend on that kind of grant activity, but she would pose the question to the board. And I've not heard back from her since then.
Can I ask you a question on that? Let's say they go for it. Can we piggyback on them to get some sort of paving over our little section?
Typically for these kinds of grants, in my experience in the transportation field, getting federal grants, it was not unusual to have collaborative grant applications with one primary grant applicant. And I didn't see that as being an issue, frankly. But I got the impression from her, if it's not an active issue, she would have responded, I'm sure, if it was, if there was a burning desire in Wakefield to complete that and the funding in place locally. So I do think that that is an opportunity that we should avail ourselves of in the future. And I'm not quite sure how we should go about doing that, but I hope that we have further discussion either at budget time or at town meeting about whether or not the community wishes to pursue funding some kind of support for access, better access at that crossing. The other activity that I finally wrote up a report last week and provided to the Board of Selectmen was on a workshop, that I went to on May 10th regarding broadband in New Hampshire. There were New Hampshire folks that were spearheading this workshop, cable franchising and wireless tower siting. And I attended, and it was 90 minutes jam-packed with information. and I provided my notes. I was able to get the presentation from the lawyer who did the cable franchise and wireless tower siting sections, and I provided those to you as well. I do think that it was fascinating. There was a lot that I don't know about those things, and it was educational for me. And I understand that the attorney who made the presentation on those cable franchising and the wireless tower sightings had indicated a willingness to come and talk to the boards of selectmen at various
Right.
communities.
She wasn't available tonight, but we're trying to find an alternate date. So at least it's something, we know it's a problem in town, so I think it's worth us at least exploring possibilities there. Thank you. Any other public comments or concerns? Okay. Seeing none, go to Marilou.
I don't really have a whole lot. I probably, we have checks to sign and bills to approve. The only, and then I do have one other thing. I would like to, I wrote the selectmen as well, that I would like to have the town invest excess funds with the New Hampshire Public Deposit Investment Pool. And I brought the paperwork for us to sign tonight. They're currently getting 1.87% interest, which is higher than what we're getting. And I think it would be a good deal. I talked to the woman who is, I don't think in charge, but who is their representative in the state of New Hampshire when I went to the finance officers conference, and it seems like it would be a good deal for us, so I'd like us to sign that paperwork tonight.
And you said there would be one selectman that would be signatory to it, right?
I think there should be one,
All right.
so.
So what was the newest I'd say should be, right? So go to Rich. Well, I'm just,
I understand, I
you know,
understand.
I'll do it, you know,
I understand. That's how we got you to be on the portal.
but, right, I remember that. So,
Turnabout's fair play.
from what I read, it looks like it's following our financial
It does.
planning.
Yes, it does.
Um,
Yes, it follows the investment plan. which
Investment
is the
plan,
other
thank
thing. Yeah,
And
so
it's state
it's
state approved.
state approved
And
for
And it's
municipalities.
federally insured.
And actually, our trustees of the trust fund had their funds with this organization before they moved to charter trust.
Okay.
So, the only other comment I'd like to make is about the school district. When I started as treasurer in 2009, it really hit me hard that in the months of May, June, July, and August, we were paying them $500,000 of the money that we collect out of our taxes. So when I got the bills for this year and what July will start to be, I was even more
Distraught.
distraught, is a good word. We're now over $700,000 that we have to pay them in those 4 months of the year. So it really takes a bite out of the money that we collect and can pay bills for the town with.
And
So-
we've tried in the past to say, can we
have.
spread it evenly? Can we do more of them? And they won't hear of it. And,
Right, so I just wanted to
And they
bring
point to a
it-
contract that only can find.
Right, so just wanted to mention it, but we do have, oh, pardon me?
It's $700 over 3 months.
700,000 over 4 months,
It's not 700,000.
per month, no,
Oh, geez.
sorry.
So it's almost half the money we collect.
It is half the money we collect,
Yeah, now we're up to half.
yeah, so it just hurts. Okay, that's my editorial comment for tonight.
Back to the investment.
Yep.
We previously, did we previously have a motion that we were willing to do that? I'm trying to remember.
No, we haven't yet.
So do we need to go ahead and make a motion?
We probably do, and then the other thing that I need, you'll love this, is signed selectmen meeting minutes that show I'm the town treasurer, and all it has to state is that I'm in attendance and that I'm the treasurer, if that can be noted in the minutes. So, and it may be on past minutes, but I didn't look back.
I'll just do it now. Can we just notate in the minutes that Marilou Maclean is the Brookfield Town Treasurer? and her term expires in
It's running out.
2019. Get that out of the way. So do we want to just take a look
We
at that?
probably should make a motion to invest with them. That would
See,
definitely.
then I'll try to make
Sure.
I'll try to contrive a motion on that information.
How liquid is the money?
It can be moved by, it's nice because it's moved typically by ACH. So it's moved the same day that we request that it's moved. This
Back
is
to Meredith?
back to Meredith. So it would go, I have 2 papers I didn't bring. It goes from profile to the state, to the New Hampshire Public Deposit Investment Pool, and then it will go from them to Meredith. Because the bulk of the money we get is deposited into the profile bank. So. And then we each have to sign a contact record. So, here it is, it's this page, 2 pages.
Now, when you say excess funds, how much of, let's say a typical tax bill goes out, we bring it around.
So I probably would keep approximately 250,000 or less in each of the banks, probably less if we have this, because we're getting such a higher rate of interest.
Okay.
With Profile Bank, we currently are getting 0.35% interest. With Meredith, we're getting 0.30% interest, and with this, we get 1.87.
All right, so we would try to keep $250,000 between the 2 accounts.
Between the
roughly.
2 accounts, and then
And then the rest would go to this, with the
Yes.
ability to eat.
Any minimum?
there is no minimum.
Okay. I'm gonna make a motion that we allow the treasurer to move excess funds, anything in excess of $250,000, to the New Hampshire Public Deposit Investment Pool, effective as soon as paperwork is approved and completed.
Takes approximately 2 days to get the account set up.
And then we get a monthly statement? Or
We have to go online for monthly statements, but I would do that and print it out.
Want any further discussion, or anyone want a second, or?
I'll second it.
Okay. You're quiet over there. Are you quiet? These
Yeah.
are good questions,
I
or
think you said that the money is accessible.
Yep.
within a day?
Good.
All right, so we get a second from Rich. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
Make a motion to have me the signature, the second person.
All right, so I will make a second motion that we make Rich Zacher the second signatory to the account and provide him website access as well.
You each would have website access.
We each would have website access, then even better.
Then he, yeah.
All right, so I'll just amend my motion just to make Rich Zacher the second signatory to the account.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. You good?
I'm good. Oh, I do have reports. So this is through May.
All right, Diane?
Yes, tax bills went out the middle of May through July 2nd, because July 1st was assigned. Today, the warrant was for $987,824, and we've collected $189,191.50 with almost $30,000 credits that were assigned. So that leaves us with quite an outstanding balance. I'm hoping things will pick up.
Have a lot of the escrow checks?
No.
That's where bulk of your money comes, right, typically?
That's where the bulk of the money comes, but we haven't had that. And I made copies of this for each of you because we just haven't met or seen you. So you can look it over and see what's been collected and what, and where they are. we'll just keep plugging. That's all. That's all we can do. We had a problem last month with one of our property owners that we have an arrangement with. A letter was sent to, I passed it on to you, Brian. I
Yes.
forgot to keep a copy of it, which I should have. I thought I was gonna come today and say I hadn't heard from them in June. However, I did get a 1-month payment. I believe that letter said they were gonna catch up in June. However, they did not. They paid. My thought is that catching up would have meant that they would have paid May and June. However, they didn't. They only paid June, and they didn't pay until yesterday, so we're supposed to pay to begin with. Just wanted to bring that to your attention.
I was gonna ask you, so it's,
And I've given you each also for your information, activity of what's going on with the property. There's one for each parcel. Just for your own information.
They're no longer over 2 years in arrears, correct?
They're paying now on 2016 is what they're paying on.
So that's,
You can see the first section here is the 2016L. Under invoice, you say 2016L, that means 2016 lien. That shows the payments they have made on it. Had they stayed current, they would have had that paid off, but they got in arrears again. So they owe some for 2016 on, I believe, both parcels, yes. And then they have the 2017 lien on both parcels and the first issue bill for 2018.
and they're not deedable because they're within the 2 years, is that correct?
They're deedable if you deemed that they had gone back on the agreement that you made with them. They could be deeded anytime. 2016 could be deeded.
But if they're within 2 years, I suspect we would lose that case in court. We have an agreement, but the reality of it, they're no more than 2 years in arrears.
and hopefully we get a payment next month that'll get rid of at least the 2016.
Well, one of them, and then you still have it on the other.
Oh, the other one, that's right.
We could write a letter, this violates the contract that was signed, and say that we'll just treat you like every other citizen in town at this point.
I think Brian has the copy of the letter from them, because when I received it, I passed it on to him.
I do, and
I'm sure he can show that to you.
I had it with hopes that this would all be caught up.
I understand.
It's just like eating away, a little later, a little, skip a month, a little later. It's almost a chronic thing, it seems like to me. But that's up to you guys. It could be deeded because the 2016s did go to lien this past year, right? 2016 went to lien. Yeah, in 2018. 2016 went to lien in 2018.
But they don't have any 16 left.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, there's one payment left.
Well, on one of them and then the other one. It'll take them almost 3 payments to, 2.5 payments to
roughly, yeah.
catch up through 2016 and start on the 2017. I just wanted to make you aware of it. I know you usually ask me, so.
Anything else tax-wise?
That was it.
Laurie, Administrative Assistant.
A couple of things. There's still work happening on the website, that's still progressing. And I did have a question, we talked a while ago about the SRPC dues.
Mhm.
Has anybody heard anything back? Do we know if the planning board need a vote on that? I've had a second inquiry, they're waiting for a response from us. I know we were waiting for a recommendation from the planning board.
Right.
We'll meet the 21st.
They, I believe, need a response. I have to double check it, but I think they need a response by the end of this month into an upcoming audit.
Yes. Do we need them?
Well, we can have George respond to what they're gonna do on the 21st.
All right, so George can respond.
And they don't need this, they would like it. But in any case, we'll be before the end of the month.
All right, so we'll give that to planning board to handle. George will write up a letter to,
I think the letter comes to the Board of Selectmen.
It does.
but if it comes,
Then we meet the 26th.
Mr. Chairman, that letter is basically a informal request. There's no statutory requirement for you to send letters back and forth. It's just a request. I don't know why there's a deadline. And I cannot remember, I don't think the planning board voted that night. I think we knew that it had to go via letter back to the selectmen, and the selectmen sent. So I thought that letter was already sent to the selectmen.
I haven't seen anything.
yeah.
And it does say that they like a response from every town, and they hold that information to provide it for an audit trail. That's why it's requested.
Remember for the meeting, they're asking for a signed letter saying that we're not gonna pay dues. It's not required, but that's what they're requesting.
I can't recall if we took a vote in the planning board not to pay the dues and then send that decision to you to sign consent. I think that was gonna be the process. That's what it was for a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just make sure the 21st it happens.
Okay. Best we can do.
Okay.
Anything else?
The only other thing is we had talked about a concern about having our water tested.
Yes.
So I did pick up that test kit, and I'm hoping to get that sample in and have results before the next meeting.
Nope.
Where are you testing? Are you testing here in the townhouse?
Oh. Does it come from the,
It's one
does
well.
it come from the same source?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I was just gonna draw it from
Any faucet's
here.
fine, it's fine. It's coming off the well, so
Okay.
that's our,
We replaced the hot water heater. The odor is gone.
Right.
So this used to be quote unquote the suspect building. Please do it here. I mean, no one's ever questioned the water next door. So let's do it here.
Okay.
Same well. Light up that.
It is a well.
All right, so I think.
it's just that we cook and clean over there, so that was my only thought is why that would make more sense. But again, it's coming off the same well, but I don't know.
Just test here.
Just test it, it's fine.
Okay.
I brought it to you earlier, but I think it makes sense, if you guys are good with it, I think Laurie should become a notary. I kept thinking the word clerk. Does it make sense to have her get the stuff and
Sure.
pay into it?
I think it's $75 or something
Yeah,
like that.
$75 and get the invoice and we're gonna kind of check and you get a big book.
Make a motion.
All right, I make a motion that Laurie go ahead and get the necessary documentation to become a notary for us.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Thanks, Laurie. Planning board. We may meet on the 22nd. Anything else?
Working on the master plan still, working on the surveys and have it, getting it straightened out in the mail.
Okay. Any idea when the survey's going? I was kind of wondering about that one.
No, there was an issue with the printer and what they were gonna charge us, we're trying to work out those details.
Gotcha. All right. Code enforcement and road agent.
I have a warrant for activity tax. I had two, but there was a typographical error on the last one which would affect it, so I have to redo it.
All right, so this is a warrant for collection of activity taxes, $26.16. Owner is Thomas Smith of Sandlinville, and this is yield for excavation.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to put forth a motion that we accept this warrant as drafted for the $26.16 for yield of excavated material.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Who generates that, Ed? Who cuts that piece of paper?
It comes out of my office.
You do it or,
Most of the time when I'm not busy, I do it.
okay. So you generate the warrant?
That one, yeah.
You generate the warrant is the question.
I only do it out of convenience because the program the state gave me does all of that. It figures everything and spits the warrant out.
Okay, that's the new part now, right? Or is that old?
Well, that's the way it's been for quite some time.
Okay, so it's, you put the data in, and
Yeah,
and then we get a warrant out.
Yep.
And that's for yield
The-
taxes also.
Yes, that part, the figuring of the stuff is easy. What has been challenging me is everything is filed electronically, and I haven't had the right stuff to get it done. Not the right stuff hardware, but the software.
Stuff is generic.
To notice intent to cuts. One is Mr. Walker, who is, almost a yearly thing, and the other one is Al George and Mary McKillop, which is also a frequent thing.
All right. So Brookfield, Walker Trust, Alan George, the,
Do you have map and model?
I was trying to, here we go. For the Walker, it's 26 L18. And for the Alan George parcels, let me know when you're ready.
Right.
There's three,
Okay.
67A, 67B, and 67.
Where are they at?
This one's right up on 109, across from Drew Farm, Walker. That's how they get in there.
Yep.
And the other one is just going out Garney Road, just as you cross into the Brookfield line.
Okay.
And the Brookfield portion, that's right there. And while you're doing that, just as far as other code stuff, just a lot of activity right now with small stuff, and I'm actually working on two house permits. So I think people are seeing the end of the school season, and they're starting to do, planning on doing things. I suspect for Brookfield, it's gonna be very busy.
Done.
I can talk about roads if you'd like me to.
I'm listening.
Okay. We're out of coal patch, the next batch is coming the beginning of the week. And at that point, I'll know whether I fill the one on Moose Mountain with sand or actual coal patch. As you can see, we got some trees down out front. And ended up, we had discussed taking down 3. Ended up taking 5. There was one another dead one that you didn't really notice until you got it cleared out, standing there by itself.
Yeah,
And one of it was collateral damage. It's just a small one.
yeah.
So, but as you'll,
I have a question on that because we lost our numbers.
267.
Yeah, they're
Nobody,
right
they're
out,
on the front
they're right
porch.
out on the front porch there, and the old,
So now what do we do with
the
them?
dilapidated sign for the Ford Gordon is out there.
Yeah,
Um,
what do we do with the numbers?
The numbers, I will stick them back up, and how about we put them on the sign in the center, go right down one of the posts.
Yeah, down the post
Yeah,
near the road.
on the post against the road.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. All right,
So,
all right. Another question?
No,
Oh, okay.
sorry.
So what do I, got the tumble down street sign up. I got the section, the class 5 to summer camp section of the Dick Road, our spring fix up. And if it doesn't, it was supposed to get rain tomorrow, but with the really dry weather, everything's, I'm gonna, as soon as I finish grading my spring, I'm gonna turn right around and do a second round on some of the roads. What else would you like there?
had you been talking to pavers about getting,
I
estimates?
have, and I'm having a heck of a time connecting with them.
I know they're very busy.
Yep, yep,
But, okay, stay on.
I will.
Have you heard anything else from our beloved engineers?
Well, the last, I haven't, but at the last actual meeting, I think you guys were gonna send out a letter,
I sent out the letter, yeah.
and you haven't heard nothing.
No.
And I haven't either, so I will, if I could get a copy of the letter,
Absolutely.
then I will follow up with a call. But I'd rather have the letter in front of me so I know what you guys
Okay.
sent and whatnot.
Yeah, so I think our next step's gonna have to get Laura involved.
Right,
Okay.
yep.
All right, give it a whirl, see what we can get out of them, best we can do, right?
Yep.
Yes.
What's the plan for the stumps now?
I can either grind them, I mean, why don't you guys take a look? Those two big ones, probably gonna make quite a mess, so I think we probably should just dig around them and grind them down. And re-landscape it right over it, and you won't even know they're there. If I pull them out, you saw the ash tree particular, so close to that new pavement. I really don't wanna be responsible, I mean, I will poke around and see, I mean, if I can dig, and they're big enough. Sometimes there's a bunch of little ones, sometimes there's a few big ones, but there are a few big ones, I don't mind sacrificing an old chainsaw chain to cut them off. But
That tree was dead, right?
the ash, yeah,
So we could just grind or saw to grade.
yeah, if you grind it, you go below grade a little bit, Yeah.
And it's gone.
and it just kind of disappears. But we may also want to I don't know if you want to do anything with the billboard now, or anything else, just look at it and let me know what you think.
That's my concern, because without anything there, people could end up in the swell.
Well, that's the reason I left the cone on the tube,
I
because
understand.
people are so used to it, and if they look in their mirror and don't see the tree, they might think they're not where they are, and end up stumped. So,
All right, get some ideas what we wanna do over there.
Yeah.
I get a tow rope.
me too. I can help them out.
Thank you for leaving the nice little Christmas tree, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. That it?
No, the culvert work getting done, nothing like that?
Not at this point, but I finished, tomorrow I got 3 hours of one of my private jobs, and that'll be 3 of my jobs that I have finished, and as you'll see, the bills have been about the same the last 3 or 4 meetings, and they'll go up drastically, so I'm sure you'll, some say about
Right on, okay,
that. Okay?
thank you.
So we can't get any type of data as far as Price Drive being paid. Sounded like.
Not until we work things out with public service and some landowners. Okay. Oh.
So I already asked you a question. Up in Effingham, they had an issue with the cheap coal patch, which doesn't seem to stay in the hole, and they used stuff called UPN. Do we use that, or do we use cheap stuff?
No, the cheap stuff, what I know is the cheap stuff, hasn't been available for 2 years. 3 years ago, we started using some of the high-performance coal patch, and that has done well, but because you have to buy it in such bulk, what we're doing now is we've switched to a bagged high-performance coal patch, and it's more expensive, but you only, you know, you'd use what you need, and it's in a sealed bag, so it doesn't dry out. And we go and take it, and it's cut our labor down quite a bit in our waste factor. Because if you go down there, you gotta buy a yard minimum.
Yeah.
And in Brookfield, getting rid of a yard of coal patch isn't hard, but if I estimate that I need 3, and I screw up and I have an extra yard left over, and then I put it out there, and, you know, if it's only a little bit, that's almost $100 that'll just get wasted.
Yeah, yeah.
So, the other stuff is more expensive, but as long as the bags aren't broken open, it stays fine.
Right.
So, okay?
Okey dokey. All right, anything to report, Conservation Commission? That's enough. Heritage.
So today, the final Churchill Schoolhouse bookcase was donated to the Wakefield School. So that is now out of there. And just a reminder that August 4th will be the town barbecue from 5 to 7. And we'll start working on that way too soon.
Post haste.
Post haste. And the Heritage Commission will be meeting next Wednesday night at 7 p.m.
20th.
And you're still looking for members, correct?
We are certainly still looking for members. Thank you.
All righty. Cemetery trustees.
Meeting Thursday, we're gonna discuss setting the flagpole and finish work on the memorial area. The memorial area is done, the rocks are in place, the backfilling is done, the form is in for the concrete for the flagpole foundation.
Progress.
So, moving right along.
All right. You still watering the trees, or?
Not this year, not at this point.
Okay, I didn't know if that was, because I remember there was consideration one way or the other, so. Okey doke.
The trees are doing good though.
Good, good, good. Good to see those things go. Good up there. All right, other boards or committees? Not doing anything. We got some old business. I don't see.
Sometime we have to talk about the grant review committee, what their recommendation is gonna be on that. Fishing game?
So the fishing game is small, right? Or we can,
Well, the fishing game thing's been tabled because there's no money right now, right?
that's how I was gonna begin the conversation, that the fund is empty, but should be refilled by the state,
This-
mid-July.
Yeah, the summer.
But it's a very simple grant, and if you want me to go over it now, we can do it next time, we can, whatever.
I guess help me, we signed the contract with the logger. Did we submit the grant? Is the grant moving without the grant review committee? And I just don't remember. And if it's not, we better get it in, or we may not have money.
Well, I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Tim Nolan, the forester, not the
Yeah.
logger, cannot go forward until he has proof positive that we have gotten the grant. So when the money's available and the application gets processed by Fish and Game, that is when he will go to work.
Do we have to wait to process or submit that application?
Well, if you submit it, they're gonna wait until the money's available.
Is it better for them to wait or us to wait?
Well,
I want to be in the queue, my point, if we get in the queue early.
it was my understanding that application was sent.
Was.
It was.
Rick and I signed the application, and the way the motion read was, Selectman Robisheau made a motion to accept this grant contingent upon the completion of the grant review committee study. Selectman Surrette, second, all in favor, so we signed it, and we sent it in with the idea that the grant review committee was going to accept it as drafted, because it was, as Ed said, it was a relatively simplistic grant.
I believe the word was contingent upon.
Right.
Do we need any confirmation that was submitted? Do you,
Well,
I'm
I
seeing.
can call the biologist to find out if they actually have it, to make sure that we're in queue. so
There you
we don't
go.
get shoved into.
That's
back.
my
I
point.
understand your point.
We asked this question before. We're waiting for this grant, a small amount of money. We have the money for the conservation through the Conservation Commission to do the forestry report,
The forest management plan.
forest management plan.
Yeah.
So we can go ahead and do that. The only thing, we're waiting for this grant because he would do a different type forest management plan to include details wanted by Fish and Game because they're giving us the grant.
Correct.
But the bottom line is we want a forest management plan.
Correct.
So we can go ahead and get one now without Fish and Game. They're holding us up. Or we can wait for Fish and Game 2 more months. So the choice is, do we want a forest plan that will suit our needs now? Or do we want to wait for a Fish and Game included forest plan? And wait a couple more months to get that.
May I?
Can we give him?
Go
Oh, okay.
ahead. He may say the same thing I was gonna say.
Basically, that after the report is done, that's up to the selectmen. If they wish to go ahead and work with any forester to make a plan, management plan, you're certainly able to do that. The stipulation with Fish and Game is if you're gonna receive money from them, they have to make sure that it's following their template, basically. So then later on in the future, if you want to do more management of that first plan will be in place, and then you could receive other grants to do other things, soil scarification and other activities. So that would be up to the selectmen if you wanted to go ahead. But Tim Nolan said that he needs to know, if you got the grant or if you're even gonna go that direction. And
Okay.
so that management plan can be as Fish and Game needs it to be.
I would love to include Fish and Game. I like some of the criteria that they want to put on that land.
Well, the
If we're
report
in-
has
If we're
that.
in need of a forest plan to go forward as a town, you see, we're waiting for them to include what they want done on the land, on our land. So, just putting that out there, that we can go forward with a forestry plan right now, but we're waiting for Fish and Game.
If
to
that's the
receive that
decision,
grant.
if that's the decision of the board.
That's-
The
that's the
reports here, and to your question, the parameters of the plan are in the report, so you can read through them to understand. It may not be too different, you'd have to talk to the forester, but it may not be too different than with Fish and Game. We could model ours to the Fish and Game or not, but if you don't, then you have to start from the beginning again if you want further funding to do other activities. That's it.
See, I think we want the Fish and Game money because in the future, the Conservation Commission said there are other grant opportunities as long as we have a plan that we can follow. So we want Fish and Game, but I just want to make sure we're in the queue.
Yes.
Not that we find out in October that, oh, we didn't get it in. So
Right.
Correct. Now, if you look through the report, you're gonna find that the management plan that Tim Nolan will make will make it easier to get grants later.
So how do we get confirmation that we're in the queue for the Fish and Game grant?
Either the selectmen can call, or I can call the biologists that are in charge of that grant. And I'd be able to find out and make sure that we're in queue.
I'm trying to think, when we signed it,
I think it's in the box in the office.
I think we were waiting for the grant review committee's final word on it, so we agreed that we signed a contingent, and so that's where it's held up now.
I don't think it's been submitted.
Okay.
So I think we submit the application, right?
Yeah, let's submit it.
I think we should. We can always say no to the money later if we don't like the conditions.
If you can email me that application that was already filled out, so I can use it if I needed to forward it to the forester or to the biologist down at Fish and Game. I am gonna be recording the Fish and Game Commission meeting tomorrow, so I will be there, so I can ask, see what they're gonna do. But the report's here, if you wanted to just, I could leave it with you, you could look it over. It just has all the details in it, if you just wanted to educate yourself on all the details of what Fish and Game is asking.
Is there anything glaring in there that we should be aware of?
No, it's a very simple grant. All the funding comes from the $2.50 that's taken from hunting licenses. And it's deposited in an account, and then people draw grants from that. That's where the funding is coming.
And we leave the land open to fishing, for people to use fishing and hunting on it. Wheeled vehicles are excluded, except for our Class 6 road.
No. Wheeled vehicles can enter the property. You have, the whole intent of the forest management plan is to keep it open for hunting and fishing and enhanced habitat for wildlife. That is the primary goal of fishing game, because we're losing hunting areas so quickly now that they're trying to make sure it stays as a huntable area. The wheeled vehicles, it seems to be still a contentious issue where if you bring a vehicle on there, it would be up to the selectmen if they want to enforce, any recreation. But if you read through the grant, that seems to be the word, recreation, that they frown upon motorized recreation vehicles, not agricultural vehicles that are going to be used perhaps for the hayfield that's there. It would primarily be damage. They just want to keep damage away from the property. They don't want to set up this whole management plan, protect the habitats, and then have somebody going over it with an ATV.
So,
Ed, do you have a question?
A statement, I believe, to answer Rick's initial question about getting a plan done, whether it is just a forest management or a grant part, I believe the forester's response to that was at one point you posed that question to him. Just here, we're gonna pay for it, get going, and how he goes about his plan is affected by whether fishing game's involved or not. So he did not want to start it unless he knew. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because he would go about it two different ways. And
Right.
if we were gonna go for the grant, he wanted to wait till the grant was there.
So I think that's what we decided to do, right? We're gonna wait for the grant.
Yeah, that's what we
but
that's
we-
what we said, contingent upon this, what we signed it, so we fired off as soon as we got the word.
So we'll submit the application now and send that across.
yes, that's what, we're gonna submit the application.
Yep.
Until we sign the check, we're not really bound, but we can get in the queue. So let's get in the queue. So, Laura, you're gonna submit it?
Yeah, and get a copy of it.
So that's rolling now.
Now, this is the report if you wanted it. The administrative assistant can copy this, and I think your system here is better than mine, where you can make one complete document at a proper file size, so you can send it out email. So this is it. I did not staple it, so it's nice and flat.
Excellent,
Thank you.
thank you.
And the grant review committee will be meeting on Friday at 8:30 a.m. Somewhere 1 o'clock. And we're going to go over, again, the process of grant review, the flow chart, and we're also going to go over what to do to reestablish an updated emergency operation plan, which can be done either with a grant or without a grant. But we're going to go through that, and we're going to issue another report so you understand what is going to be asked of you if you take the federal money to do the emergency operation plan, which we should have,
8 a.m.?
8:30 a.m.
So I heard tonight 3 potential grants are in the works. Emergency management, the fire truck, forestry truck, and Diane's talking about a grant.
And there's also another one, it's the emergency hazard mitigation.
Hazard mitigation.
Hazard mitigation is another one.
So all 4 of these should be looked at, yes?
That would be 3. The EOP, the hazard mitigation plan, and the fire truck? Where's the 4th one?
The TAC, the TAC, but I really don't think that that's gonna fly.
Oh, I had a comment about the TAC. We had the Cotton Valley Trail Committee. They used grant funds, I believe, to build it. So I would think that a rail trail is a regional type of.
That was grant money through the Bureau of Trails.
Right.
This is a different pot of money. Problem with, and they would pay for that, for the actual construction of the trail and some amenities within the right-of-way. The problem that I believe, and it's, I don't know if it's I think there are other people in town that agree with me, but we only have one crossing of the trail in Brookfield, and it's inadequate parking. And I've tried to use it and not been able to, because somebody's parking poorly in a very small space. Anyhow, sorry, I digress. The money that was used does not pay for acquisition of property or easements outside of the right-of-way. The right-of-way is the state of New Hampshire, I think it's DOT, owns the right-of-way. So all of that work, most of that work, if not all of it, has been done within the right-of-way. But if you want to have a facility or a structure or something adjunct to the trail, but is not within the right-of-way, that funding stream that they have made wonderful use out of is not available to do that. Up until 2 years ago, you could, but then New Hampshire decided to not fund acquisitions.
I thought I heard you say something about going with Wakefield.
That is for the Transportation Alternatives Program, which is federally funded. The old enhancements money, you might remember as enhancements money, transportation enhancements.
So is that a grant? Yes.
It's funding, but if Wakefield isn't going to pursue it, I don't think that, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
20%, 80,000?
I don't think we have $80,000.
We don't have $400,000 worth of work to do.
To probably, probably less than $10,000 worth of work.
That one's dead then, or
It
off the
doesn't-
table now?
Well, depending on the property situation, I mean, we haven't really engaged in discussion about what you guys would like to do, et cetera.
Yeah.
It was just, it's only available every 2 years. I wasn't paying attention. I thought it was alternate years with the trail money, but it's.
So there's three.
Yeah. All righty.
I got a question. Diane, just a question. When you were shut out parking down there, someone's poorly parked, was that sign there that says angle park only at that time? I noticed a sign
Yes.
down there now.
Yes,
That was there, and they
Yep.
just took the whole middle.
just pulled in and parked
Perpendicular.
your SUV right in the
Okay, I didn't know
entrance.
if that sign was put there as a
Yep.
result of
Oh,
what
yeah,
happened
as soon
to
as the
you.
SUV left, I could see the sign very clearly.
It was already there, okay.
But
So that's working.
it's such a narrow spot, unless you're really paying attention, you don't see the angle parking sign unless you know that you're supposed to be angling in to begin with. Or think it through, I don't know.
Right,
Just-
there's no
It's
lines
angled
or
parking
anything, it's
for
just-
compact vehicles.
It's
Very narrow.
very narrow. I almost couldn't get my truck.
So who owns the land?
That's within the right of way.
That is-
That's why it's
that's
That's
narrow.
within the
That's
right
That's
of
why
way,
it's so
yes.
narrow.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can I
sir.
make a comment about the school?
Okay.
Everybody had that reaction. I don't know if you've been watching the videos coming out of Ossipee, but they're going to be sending you a letter. They're going to send a letter out to all the town districts, selectmen, to find out if there would be any favor of having a budget committee for the school board. So they're gonna ask all of you, they're gonna ask New Durham, Brookfield, Brookfield, Ossipee, Effingham, New Durham, Tufton Borough, and Wilbur to see if that would be something that the school board would entertain. We don't know yet if the idea or the proposal would be an elected budget committee, but that's gonna start the conversation of the bill. So that their bill went up $1.38 per thousand. They're sickened by their $900,000 bill, paying, I believe it was $8.2 million. I believe they just reported yesterday or on Monday. So there's many towns that are in the same boat. So it's gonna be addressed, but
Okay.
you will
So a
get
letter is coming to us?
A letter's coming in the next few weeks.
Do they understand why their budget went up that much?
I did ask the questions. I asked, well, how many members do you have going to the school? Did that change recently? And they're going to look at that reason.
Okay. We're good to go on to old business now? I am. All right, town office roof is done. Doug Madden did a nice job. Laurie's sending in some final paperwork, and we just need to get a TIN number for Marilou, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll get it.
So all of our roofs are now done. We shouldn't have to do roofs till we're all no longer sitting here. Townhouse maintenance plan proposal review.
We had 2 proposals required June 1st,
Mhm.
and that was to deal with the ramp.
Yep.
No, I didn't say that
I have
right.
one of them here, what's the other one?
I didn't say that right. We went out for proposals due June 1st.
Right,
The ramp was due June 1st, the painting was due
July 1st. So we're just talking about the ramp tonight. And we have 1 proposal, 2 proposals. 1. Okay.
And the painting, I followed up with Adam Dupree. He is getting numbers together. I would have thought I would have had him by now, but I'll follow up with him. He's, every time I call him, he's out working, so.
And I got contacted by the other painter, and she's gonna make a proposal also.
So you contacted Tracy?
She called me,
Oh.
so she was interested.
I originally called her
Okay.
and asked her to, if she wanted to.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna talk about it now.
Okay, so we got at least 2 on the hook that are trying to get numbers to us. Should we try to get a third? There's a guy in Wolfboro that I can reach out to. Try to,
We could, we put it in the newsletter, we put it,
yeah, have them get it in by the deadline,
all right, I'll try to get in touch with him.
more the merrier.
Yeah, I'd rather just get 3. With a job that big, it'd be nice to get, because, all right, I won't talk about
Right,
it. I just started talking.
later.
All right, Wolfboro painter estimate. I will reach out to him. I can't think of his name, but I know it's there. I may even talk to Doug Madden. He knows a lot of guys too. Did a good job on the roofs now. All right, so we got the 1 proposal for the ramp. Do we want to go ahead and just?
Rick, you wanna talk to it? What happened?
The proposal we got was from a level ramp solution company from Dover. They install a aluminum ramp. It's a permanent installation, and it's all modular. The owner came out and with Rich Zacher and I watching, he measured up everything and discussed how he would build a ramp, the shape, and clearances for moving wheelchairs around, rest areas, etc. It's all to the specifications of the, what was that, Rich?
ADA.
ADA.
Handicap compliant.
And what he does is sometimes he puts in ramps and people have them removed, so he occasionally has reclaimed systems that are like new. Just the materials, like I said, it's a modular system, so he gave a proposal for the ramp, the old ramp removed and taken away, the new aluminum module system installed, if completely brand new, $6,350, and it could be as low as $4,850 for an entirely reclaimed system. So he says the reclaimed material, which I think we would be interested in, is we don't know what's available and when it's available. I think at this time he does have enough material to do us with reclaimed material. So if we accept this, I could give him a call and have him start.
Is it heavy duty aluminum? I assume it would have to be.
That's not tinfoil.
It's, what he does is he installs them, like there was one in the house down here for a while.
Yep.
I think he puts those in, and then when he reclaims them, he turns them around because the aluminum's still good,
Okay.
and reuses it if there's some in inventory.
What I would equate it to is
Some
almost
people
like.
rent them,
Oh.
and some people buy them permanent.
Like,
That's why he gets the, what he calls reclaimed material. He gets a rental back.
what I would equate it to is almost like a boat dock or the boat ramps.
Oh, okay.
That kind of material, it's that
I've
gauge.
just seen some handicapped ramps that seem thinner, or I know people had trouble getting wheelchairs and all up them without them almost buckling, or, I mean,
So that, we
Okay.
saw some samples of the material, it's heavy, structured grade aluminum.
okay.
And he has two landings. One, he goes X number of feet, then puts a landing in,
Yes,
and he goes X number of feet again, and puts another landing in
there.
to be compliant with
Yes.
the grade.
Yep, yep.
So he knew what he was doing.
So is there
he has a
like a
larger turnaround
guarantee on
area here and
anything?
one here. And he's going to tie our awning into it.
Well, that'd be nice.
That's a challenge for him, though. Did he talk guarantee, Rick? Did he say anything about warranty? I don't remember.
No,
And he can make it so that the,
Eddie, you got a question?
How is the placement of the new one? Is it gonna go out towards the parking lot further? Did he
same
talk
pattern,
about, same pattern?
yes.
He's got, halfway up there's a platform,
Yeah.
then at the top, there's another platform before he turns right and goes up another ramp.
So instead of all, the one along the side being all flat, there's gonna be a slight ramp in
I
there.
believe so.
Yes.
That's where he gets his extra elevation from. And it's,
Do you want to check it out? Okay.
I will later, yeah, after the meeting.
it's wide enough that you can take a wheelchair and turn around and do all those necessary
Right, you're
things.
supposed to, yeah.
Fred?
I don't know why, but somehow I have a feeling that an aluminum ramp would tend to be more slippery in the winter than one made of wood or Trex. Has this been looked into?
You saw the
Does
samples.
it have a grid work or any other
It-
anti-skid features?
It does have anti-skid feature, it is, I don't know how to explain it, but it's ribbed for anti-skid.
The ribbed is not good enough because you can slide sideways. A diamond arrangement, grid work, like expanded metal mesh would be better. Do they make them that way?
Let me check into that. Good question.
My concern with Trex was shoveling it, scraping it, treating it, it'll break down the Trex. And I found Trex to be extremely slippery when it's wet, or even worse so with snow or ice on it. We gave consideration to like a cedar or a pressure treated, but again, we're right back to, now we're gonna have to either treat it, and wood can be relatively slippery as well. So that's why I thought this was a nice compromise, other than getting some sort of non-skid on a wood surface, which, you know, I guess would wear out and we'd have to replace constantly, so. Marilou?
I have one more question. So one of our concerns that was brought up in the past to us was that the spacing on the bars need to be ADA compliant as well.
They are, both sides,
Okay,
because
thank you.
it's away from the building, so we can access the building for maintenance.
Good, thank you.
So to recap, this is an ADA compliant ramp.
Yes, it is.
Let's do two things. Let's get some data on, is there a warranty? We don't know that. We really didn't ask him. And there was another question. Was the question about the surface, whether it's diamond plated or ribbed? And then we can talk about it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think straight ribbing in one direction would allow you to slip sideways, but if it is a diamond pattern or expanded metal, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Expanded metal?
We can, let's raise the issue, that's all.
Yeah, I'm not gonna assume that ADA spec'd out in their approval system that it has to prevent slips sideways and forward, but we'll look into the pattern.
Okay. So we'll talk about that next meeting. No other discussion on the ramp? We all good? Okay. Whole license agreement. Laurie and I have been kicking this one around for a little bit. So Laurie, Rich, and I sat and we've gone over the whole license agreement documents that we received from council. There's a very specified way we have to do things. And the plan currently is to go ahead and you need to place the the utility carriers on notice of our intent of changing the pole license agreement. We would then also need to go ahead and put forth a public hearing notice at least 5 weeks out in advance of when the service was made to the providers. And then once we have the hearing, it's voted upon, there's a few more steps and motions that we need to go ahead and have done very specifically. But it seems like we're going to get this moving along, and looking for a hearing, we're thinking sometime in August or so. And we would look to go ahead and probably just do it prior to a regular Board of Selectmen meeting. And again, it would be a public hearing notice. There's very specified language that Laurie has, and we can put that in the newspaper and post that meeting. So we'll go forward with that.
Do you want to aim to set that date now?
Yeah, we probably should.
It would fall on the 14th.
14th to the 28th, right?
If we set that date, then I can get those letters mailed out.
Then let's just go for the 14th. Oh, does this sound good, guys?
Do we resolve how we're gonna deliver those letters? Is that gonna be the sheriff?
I think we're gonna do the sheriff. I think let's just do it right. It's gonna cost us money, so do it that way. All right.
Sure.
You actually need to serve. This is from council. You need to actually serve the individual utility carriers your intent to change the pole license agreement, and you do it by way of sheriff or marshal.
To assure their receipt, and then the sheriff can swear that they were delivered.
It's $50 roughly per notice. There's 6 or 7 utility carriers we need to do. So, all right, we'll go for the August 14th and get things going that way.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
is there a statutory requirement to the $50 or what caused that to happen?
Yeah, Laura, let's see what you got here.
It's called out per RSA 43-2.
If we could get away without doing sheriff or marshal, I'd be happy to do certified, but it seems it's either strongly recommended or we're bound by RSA to serve by way of sheriff or marshal.
Did the state send anybody down to cover that charge, or is it something we have to do?
I think that's going to be us.
It's our pole license.
Another reason why we should charge for
All right, so we'll begin to get that into the motion and all is well. Attic update. Marilou, you and Lance made some progress.
We did, we disposed of the old computer monitors that were there, as well as a couple of old computer systems, so that's all done. We will take care of the empty computer boxes that would no longer be needed up there, probably this weekend or so, so that all of that's taken care of. We also took an old fax machine, and we were able to dispose of it all for free.
Good. I was able to get a couple Kingswood High School students for volunteer hours that we'll go ahead and get rid of the rest of the junk up there, the Halloween stuff and whatnot. And we'll have to work on getting shelving. How many sets do you think we need? 3 sets of shelving, would you guys say? So I'll get 3 sets of decent gauge shelving up there and have the boys build it.
And then each individual department would need to go through, I'm gonna try and find, I meant to try and do it this week, to find a retention policy for municipalities, to see how long records need to be kept. I know I keep mine 10 years, and all my boxes are marked, but a lot of the boxes up there aren't clearly marked as far as what the contents are and when they can be destroyed, so we'll try and get that organized as well.
All right.
Craig did that recently, in the past 4 or 5 years, and made a presentation to the board and maybe the various departments, so he has the data.
He has the retention.
He had some questions he was asking me, though, for some information on a couple things.
All right, so,
I have a retention list of everything that.
yeah, so we as the board will not dispose of any records. We will leave it up to tax collector, the clerk, and so on. So but we just, our idea is to organize it, give every department shelving designation, and then get some organization up there.
Well, Jenny said she's not putting anything up there, so that's up to you guys.
Well, Jenny marches to her own drum, but we go. Does she have records up there?
No, she.
I didn't think she had any.
I think her records are in the
So
vault.
that's fine. If she's got a spot, stuff's organized, it's out of the way, I don't see the reason to reinvent the wheel with her right now. At least that's my thought.
I agree.
And I don't need 80-something-year-old Jenny going up and down attic stairs with boxes. So, once, I'm gonna try to find hopefully a day that's not hot and get the boys up there, so we can coordinate with you to,
Let me know.
even if we bring the stuff out back and then say it's done and you can come over, we can load it up with you.
It's awfully hot up there right now.
I can imagine. That's why you're gonna have to do it on a night or we're gonna have to do it when it's a nice rainy day.
There's a whole great big box that's full of nothing but Halloween napkins, if you know somebody who doesn't mind what kind of napkins they use. I mean, I'm talking like a big box full of individually packaged Halloween napkins.
Use it for the town dinners.
Yeah. We'd have enough, if we keep it, it'd be
idea.
enough to last quite a few years.
All right.
Use what?
Napkins and napkins.
Napkins, well, no, they aren't. The Halloween was that very absorbent.
Any other old business you want to talk about? All right. New business. It's become abundantly clear to me that the town needs a standard contract for any kind of services that we engage in, like a roof, painting. And the reason I say that is because ultimately we need to protect ourselves against any liability from an injured worker on our property. So what I'm going to try to do is put together a standard contract, leaving blanks of vendors, dates and whatnot. And what I would then do is look to go ahead and, with your approval, shoot a copy of that over to Laura for review. And then we could then make that our standard contract. So from now on, Laurie would have that on her computer. So Doug Mack, everything, we plug in all the stuff, and there'll be defense and indemnity provisions in there, additional name insured provisions, and we are covered from any kind of liability from an injured worker.
Good, look forward to that.
You guys okay with me getting this? It'll probably take an hour or two of Laura's time. Yes.
Just a suggestion, I was really impressed with the resources that are available from the New Hampshire Municipal Association. They had all sorts of contracts
Yep.
and.
That's
forms
where I
and so
started to
forth.
look. I have some at my job, so I was gonna,
But they have it geared to
The-
municipalities, I would
Yeah.
hope.
That I
Be
did
a lot
look
cheaper
there.
than having to.
Well, I still want to get it and have her just give it a look over, make sure that, you know.
Just a suggestion.
Yes, no, but your suggestion of the New Hampshire Municipal Association is the first place I went to when I started to look for this, and you're right, they actually do have something geared right towards us, so
Okay.
we'll carve it right into us and make that our standards, because I don't like guys up on roofs and we don't have any protection there.
So we lucked out.
We did. Okay. Thank you. Suggestion, I don't know if we want to spend the money or not. Do we want to get some mulch and mulch some of the flower beds and whatnot around here? Or do we not want to go down that road again?
Let's talk about the lawnmower first.
Okay, lawnmower first. Okay. I thought you were gonna say later.
Do we want to buy a lawnmower? That's what it says here.
And that's the thing. Back when I had a truck, I didn't mind bringing my lawnmower back and forth for Hayden to mow the lawn. The lawnmower that I then donated to you here and left it here, it's rotted. It's become unsafe, so I'm not letting him use it. So transporting a lawnmower up here in my car has become nasty. I'd rather just buy a cheap lawnmower and leave it up here, and I'll provide gas and whatnot for it, but, it's something I would suggest, and then down the road, the next kid that wants to mow grass, the lawnmower's here.
Is there any liability to do it this way, using our equipment?
I think it goes against what we've been trying to do. We're kind of taking a stance of anti-equipment with the forest water and everything, and we don't have provisions in town to do equipment maintenance, et cetera, and we don't supply equipment to any other contractors. I know it's just a lawnmower, like maybe we can find someone to donate a lawnmower to Hayden, and it will be his, and they have no problem with him storing it here. But it's gotta be the workers' tools.
And the reason I want to talk about that first, because if we don't go that way, then maybe we want to contract with somebody like Corey Pike, who does the cemetery work, to do the mulch and do the maintenance here. I know it's going to be a lot more expensive, but, I mean, we have to keep the grounds looking neat. And if he's not going to get a lawnmower and he's not going to do the work, then maybe we go the other direction.
Well, we save a lot of money using a kid like Hayden. He's got the job now, and the job gets done, and a kid that otherwise can't get a regular job somewhere gets some pay and gets to have some sense of community at the same time. So
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that. I like that. I'd rather continue that. It's just the starting a precedent of having equipment here and having to maintain it, and it's our stuff, we're on the hook for it, so I'd rather not go that way.
And so I donated that other one, but the deck rotted, so the motor's literally ready to fall out, so I can't have him use that.
So maybe we can get another donated one or something
Yeah, it's a
for
lot.
him, but it could stay here, like I said, maybe we can find a better place where it's not gonna get rotted out. I think you have it in the salt shed.
Yeah,
You don't want that. It'd be better off chained to a pole
Right.
outside. But,
Put it in the attic.
it's gotta be his
Put it
lawn.
in the attic.
Okay?
Is he an employee or a contractor?
He'd technically be a contractor.
And that was my concern, using town equipment, there's liability, we don't want to go there, I don't think. So if we can find someone, or Hayden can find a lawnmower,
Yeah.
then I go with the mulch also, because now he's got a job to do, but if we were gonna bring somebody else in,
Right.
let them do the whole job.
I put some thought into this. What's Anderson's first name?
Who?
That yard sale guy,
Mike.
Mike Anderson. He's probably got half a dozen of them down there.
Yeah, they got a lawnmower running, it's not like it needs to be great, I just, when it became unsafe, that's when I said, we just can't do that.
Right.
You mean Steve Lee?
Yes, Steve Lee.
No, not Steve. I know Mike Anderson has stuff
Oh, I didn't
accumulated
know we had mowers.
like that for his sale.
Yeah.
Maybe Steve Lee has one kicking around.
He didn't do the sale this
That
year.
could come in.
Yeah, he's not doing the sale anymore.
Oh,
Well, isn't that big yacht still right up to 60?
Yeah, maybe we'd like for $50, get one, use one for 50, so he could buy it for 50 or something, or we could donate it to him or something.
you know,
It's his.
well, if we get a cheap lawnmower from Steve that works, then we'll do the job. I have no problem making a portion of a donation just to
I agree.
give it to him. He's a good kid.
Yeah, but he likes doing it, he doesn't mind coming in and getting it done, it's just,
The bottom line is, we could help him get a lawnmower personally,
yeah.
but it's gotta be his lawnmower.
All right, so we'll just keep an eye out for a used one, and I'll just,
Yeah, he's doing a good job.
oh, no, it's not a problem, this is his third year doing it. He's already done it 3 times so far this season, so let's just keep an eye out for a used one, and then see if we grab something cheap, and in the meantime, I'll just keep putting a tarp down on my car, and hope the gas doesn't leak again this time.
So now we can go back to the mulch, okay?
Okay, back to the mulch.
So now, I have no problem getting mulch if he wants to spread it, because he's gonna do the other work.
The
also.
mulch, and this is where because the amount of work that's up in that attic is not enough to satisfy their community service hours. This is going to be community service hours for them spreading mulch. Yeah.
Could you have them do community service to get the sand off the lawn first? For the mulch? Because there's still quite a bit.
There's quite a bit up there. Yeah,
It's all rakes and street brooms.
The race street rooms have a blower, you can blow
Yeah.
it off and stuff like
Yeah,
that. I can add that to the list because they needed 10 hours.
yeah. I'd do
And that work up there is
mulch.
an hour or two at most, so.
So if we're gonna get the young people to do the mulch, that's great, and I can help supervise it, I'm around, and if we're gonna do the lawn, we put that on the list, and I can come down and watch them, whatever.
Judy Brenner came one day and did quite a bit of weeding in the different beds too, and I think maybe just as an encouragement for her, it would be nice to thank her for what she has done.
Yeah, Hayden raked all that out, there's just so much leaves in there, so that
Oh,
was a
it's a
mess.
terrible mess.
And then Eddie sucked it all up for us, so it was good, it worked out good.
Judy got in the middle of doing the one in the front and found a active bird's nest down in there, so we got. Mary Lou and I have some nice pictures of, did you get that one I sent you with the
Yeah.
eggs?
Yeah.
Good. And that's a cool picture.
It is.
So if we're gonna buy mulch, do we wanna get mulch from Dave Galadaro,
I
or?
wanna put it in
Does he have mulch?
I can use
Yeah,
it
doesn't he?
for a book next year, but I
I don't know if he did it this year or not.
Yes.
And then they were gone.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and he's got his truck, he's got a new truck he's
Yeah.
been
I
looking.
don't have my phone with me because I died.
A couple yards, it probably did?
Start with that.
Yeah.
Start with that. If he deliver, what's his truck called? I don't know.
He's got a pretty big truck, that's
Oh, we don't want, okay.
So I'm sure a couple yards and it's a short delivery, so.
All right.
Well, yeah, if you need more, it's right there.
Farmers Building that one.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, a couple of yards ago.
Usually they dump it in the back by the,
Yeah,
By the handicap class.
yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah, dump it someplace where they can spread it.
all right, I'll reach out to Dave and just tell him and see if he can just invoice us and. So, and, the boys can get out here anytime and start cleaning off, sanding, spreading them up, so.
And if they need help, super whatever rakes or whatever, let me know too.
Okay, 2 yards mulch, all right. All right, so that's the last of any other new business, I should say.
Yes.
Go for it.
The cable issues.
Yeah.
We've got a contract here to sign. I've gone through it. I wouldn't touch it. I understand that there's an attorney that's working with Madison, Effingham, Ossipee, Tamworth to deal with negotiations with cable companies.
It's the same individual, it's the same attorney that Diane had mentioned had come to one of her presentations that she went to.
The data that Diane sent around, it was based upon that attorney's 90-minute presentation.
I haven't seen that yet, but that's okay. I guess this individual would like an invite if we'd like her to come.
Yes.
We have to invite her, tell her what it's all about. I guess my concern is, if we need her to represent us to get a decent contract, I think we should go that direction. Half the town, I think about half the town doesn't have service. And if there's any way we can put some leverage on this provider to help us out, I think we should do that. Might cost us some money, but.
But I think the town wants better service,
Absolutely.
you know?
I don't know what's going on up in Ossipee and everything. Same thing, pockets of services.
It's the same thing all over. It was, if you want to, on the Tamworth Selectmen's meeting, if you watch her presentation, there are options on negotiating with those cable companies. She seems to know how to do it.
And we don't, so I think we gotta get some help.
There's an area of expertise that we may need to tap into her as a resource.
So how do we go about inviting her? I guess we heard some voicemails.
She was under the impression that we had a meeting on the 22nd, which I think is inaccurate. Obviously, it's a Friday. Do we want to see if she's available for the next selectman meeting?
26th.
Yeah, I would.
Do you have her number?
I do not.
I do.
Can you forward it to her? Lori?
It's in the material that I sent.
Oh, okay. All right, so,
She wanted to talk to someone in town, one of the officials, but Ed, you shared some information where before she comes, she wants to,
she wants to understand what we want from her.
I think she had sent me that voice message to just basically say, follow the channel. You know, I announced who I was, but it really would be up to you to invite her, so she wanted to make sure she knew why she was coming here and, you know, what would be discussed and what you're asking of her.
Do you want to reach out to her, talk to her?
sure. Sure.
Okay.
We've got an outstanding contract that we have not signed. We got some, as well as tell her, we've got some issues in town with spotty coverage. And we'd like to hear what how could she help us,
Okay.
right? That's the story.
And then work on a date, and then once we get a date, you could let Laurie know the date so she can post it.
Fine.
Okay, so you don't need to contact her, Rich's.
Okay, are you gonna aim for that 26th?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you want the number?
Yes, if you do.
It's Catherine Miller, Donahue Tucker in Ciandiella Law Firm, and the phone number is 778-0686.
0686.
I just sent you a hard copy.
Down in X, and that's the company, DTC or something?
DTC, yes.
Good, I'll do that right away.
Yeah, Ed just sent it to me, I'll forward it to you later. I think I still had it from what Diane sent, but okay. All right, so you'll work on that, and we'll
Yep.
try to arrange a date. Okay. All right, any other new business we want to talk about? No? All right. Any other public comments before we go into some of the mail and bills and all that good stuff? No? I see people yawning in the audience, so you know it's time to get this thing wrapped up. All right, so,
Invoices? I have a slew of them.
You do,
Yeah.
so we just to vote on veterans, and then Ed's thing here.
Oh, we better hold on this one.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, let's get some of
What
this.
you got here?
All right, we got a veterans credit qualification worksheet that has been approved by the assessor Rod, and it is in need of our signature to make it official. Is Robert Anthony Serbiak. All of his paperwork works out. He currently is qualified for the 100, and they want to up him to the 250, effective 5/11/2018. So I was going to go ahead and I will put forth a motion that we accept this veterans credit qualification for the 250.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sure, opinion. You sign a date. Yeah, we got a report of wood or timber cut. It's telling me to sign a date, but we haven't signed a date this time. Due by May 15th. Excuse me. Oh wait, is this the other? No, it's current use here. Yeah, it was just the block, that's why I got confused.
Yeah, you don't need to sign it.
Okay, I didn't think so, I didn't see any place for us to sign. There's a current use land change tax warrant sent to the town of Brookfield. Rodwood is approved. It is for location.
Who's in?
Owner is Simon, Zachary and Christine Simon. They're in Old Baltimore.
It's for these trailers down here. These trailers on the lot.
So we're looking to pull this out of current use?
Well, once we put the trailers on there, it's no longer in current use.
Oh, I see, that's what he's doing, okay, land use change $250. Okay, so you, yeah, I remember us talking about that. So I'm gonna make a motion that we accept this land use Change tax warrant.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So this is all set. Okay. Mr. Nason, what do we got going for you here? Oh, yours, this is an application for current use over on Stoneham, Parks, acres and parcel, 18 acres for this application, 17.7. Map 4, lot 22. I spoke with Rod Wood on this, he recommended we accepted this, and it's all spelled out here. Everything's good. So I make a motion that we accept this application for current use for the lot, map 4, lot 22, on Stoneham Road.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sign the file. All right, so that goes here. It's not on there.
That's tough.
Yeah, I don't know. Speaking of Rod Wood. Okay. What's this? Whoops. Permit application for property. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. We have to buy Bob some paper clips because stuff is all this big.
There's a lot in the comment.
I know, I'm kidding. He's. Alright, that's unrelated to any of that. What do we got for mail over there? Anything good? Alright, expired construction approval. Alright, we've got notice from the Department of Environmental Services, expired construction approval, property located Meat Dam Road, which is no longer the Dam Road, Brookfield, map 28, lot 2A and 3. Another expired construction approval for Governor's Road, Brookfield, map 12, lot 1. Okay?
Do you keep those in? Do you?
Yeah,
I'll say that must go in whatever building file you have, right? Okay. We need to update our DOT contact list, and if you're still making changes on the map, please make note under section 1 and sign it and return it. What map are they talking about? Yeah. Can you send them, just update that list for them?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. It looks old, I think somehow it slipped into the box. City of Nashua, Office of Corporate Counsel, enclosed, please find City of Nashua's joinder and defendant's joint proposal on issues raised May 8th, 2018, pre-hearing conference.
Polls.
Poll license issues.
Poll licenses.
We're not involved.
What we settled with Fairpoint,
We settled Fairpoint, isn't it?
Eversource has just now filed an
Oh, this is
request.
Eversource. Oh my God. I'm so sick of these people.
So So, yeah, we're out of one, but we're in the other.
We're in the other still, but we're not. So who did they join to the complaint? City Manager joined her in defendant's joint proposal of issues raised.
That's interesting, because they filed an abatement request with this town also.
Right. So the city of Nashua joins the defendants and the issues raised. So whatever issues defense raised, city has actually joined in on. They urge the Board of Tax and Land Appeals to reject Eversource's suggestion that direct examination shall be conducted through pre-file testimony. And they want it all consolidated. So that's Nashua, just joining it. Oh, Lakes Region Conservation Trust, they've just copied us on their filing for charitable organization financial statement. They file a 990 as a nonprofit. Because they have land on, where's the land that they have for us? Do they have
Who
land?
has?
Lakes Region Conservation Trust, do they have land abutting us?
I don't know that.
I don't know why they sent it to us. I thought they had land abutting us.
I think. This is not the first time we received these.
Town Brookfield, form,
Right.
yeah.
We give it to the assessor.
Give it to the assessor, okay.
Well, what they do is they waive the tax.
Oh, they're weird, they're tax exempt, that's why it's one, either they have parcels or they have abut us, that's why I
Oh,
thought.
they're in town. They're in
They're in
town.
town. Yeah, we read. All right,
Ready for the bills?
how about you do some bills?
All ready.
Go for it.
So we have one to Roland Kinville for $2,000 for cemetery work. That's on Michigan later.
Okay.
Bartlett Tree Service, work on Lyford Road, $270.
That's for the cemeteries, he said. These two came from Craig. He said they're for cemetery stuff.
All right.
They fertilize the trees or something?
Yes. That's for the fertilized trees, yes, $270. We got 10 construction for $53.45 period is through 6/9, yesterday or earlier this week. We've got the school budget, the school bill, $143,828, and there's two.
No,
Oh, I'm grabbing two.
you're grabbing two.
Harris
A.H. Harris?
Yes.
Patch,
That was the last batch of coal patch that I got.
50 units, $787.50. Crushed stone from Ossipee, $270.71. Crushed bank run. Where are we using crushed bank from? I know where it is.
Yeah, it's right out there, and we've used some in the potholes, and we used some along the edge again in spring of this parking lot.
And Eversource for $16.23.
How much?
Just one bill, $16.23.
Oh,
Just one?
Just one.
I want that bill.
Crushed bank run, is that the terminology for the stuff we use for the driveway?
Yes.
How much is their truck load, 20 yards?
It's done by weight, it's about 24 ton, which translates, depending on if it's been raining or it's been dry, 18 to 19 yards.
Okay.
Got a bill from the county for $69 for printing of,
I think she did the tax lien searches.
thank you, tax liens, yes.
That would be from the county though, that would be from,
Yeah, but this is the.
The recording, they reported the liens,
oh,
that's from the county. Seacoast Media for the planning board, $80. Guess they had a hearing or something?
I believe Seacoast Media is the company we're using to print the forms, if I'm not mistaken.
I think this is a newspaper.
It's the newspaper.
public notice. I think that's,
I stand corrected.
and this is work to the Heritage Commission. Are you funding this? Or is town funding this? $200 for Heritage Commission.
It was in this year's budget, operating budget.
Okay. $200 to Heritage Commission to do work with copyrights.
Oh,
Here's the other one, here's the other piece, $300 more. Staples, $23.91. Can't get them, I'm not sure if this is the right job for me. Can't get them. Stratford Regional Planning, oh, that's, what is this? These are the books,
Yeah, last year's, $28.
last year's.
Yep.
So we didn't pay last year, there was some discussion of it.
Yep,
That was last year's.
last year's.
Internet, $42.16 to the telephone company.
person in that seat has to do the bills. You got the job for the rest of the year.
$83.99 for phone service. Thank you. Craig Evans, this is for work as the archivist, $410.
This is when he was contract, so this is January through April when he was hired.
And this is the library, Gaffney Library wants.
$14,000. We approved
I
that?
typically pay them half.
I was gonna
now.
say, normally we do this in two chunks.
She billed us for the whole thing, but I can pay it in half if you prefer that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, would you put 7,000, because she wouldn't forget to bill us the other half. 7.
So the Heritage Commission raised $200 towards the Veterans Memorial. I deposited the cash, and now I'd like to write a check to the trustees of the trust fund.
For $200, just moving money out.
Yep.
Oh, jeez. Mitchell, 4220, yes, they made money on that one. I called the lawyer, asked the question about agents to expend. Donation, $2,000, food pantry, we gonna do all of it or half?
1,000.
Okay, they want 1,000 on the bottom. That's. And. Oh, gee. And look at the bottom, we've got, the town of Wakefield wants $88,770.81, second quarter.
Can we subtract $16 from it?
That's it.
I make a motion that we accept the bills as read on the record by Mr. Zacher.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Yeah, we need some checks to sign. Once you start signing checks.
What happened to the White Mountain Oil info? Did that get?
There's been some more.
Oh, okay.
We taking action on that? We gonna get?
Yeah, I asked her to get, that's what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah, it's,
All right.
it's time.
Make sure I'm not jumping on it.
It's gonna
I
be
just
cold
lost
again.
track of it.
Unfortunately.
That was on the phone. Man, that will take a whole 15 minutes.
So is George Nick staying on as secretary? Or I know there was talk about him maybe want to shed that.
They're just not finding a replacement. He's still coming in.
When's the selectmen get paid? Do we get paid this month?
June. Oh!
Oh, isn't that sad?
See you in a couple weeks.
That's sad.
I don't see the
No,
checks.
I'll write it with, I'll write it with these.
I was just wondering, this is in my head.
Ooh.
When does the treasurer get paid?
Her check's in there,
Well,
right?
yeah. Her check's in here?
I like it.
It's only got one signature
Oh, I
on
got
it.
Yeah, right, we can hold that one off.
Really smooth. That's pretty.
Because I saw Jessica's checking this, I mean, like, my head full, I'm like, wait a minute, do it.
Gratitude.
So I'll have a few more checks to write.
Hey, isn't that funny, guys?
Sorry about that.
Are we gonna sign this treasure check?
Will everybody eat till we,
No one's
till
going
the
hungry.
weekend?
Then I shut the lights off, the Robisheau house now.
That's for you.
You have a lot of checks to process today, lady.
I do.
That's why it's a short pile. Oh, here you mean this pile.
Yeah. Well, I apologize,
You did
gentlemen.
get paid.
All right, we just signed the checks, I can adjourn the meeting, right?
Yep.
All right, nothing else anyone needs to add? We're all good? Meeting adjourned. You just signed a check, so. Oh. Oh, yeah. I know, I've been here since 5:30 too, so I'm like, jeez.
All right, here's your contact thing, so you need to